So I'm Fabian. I am the co-founder and CEO of Kive. And with Kive, we're building a fully decentralized data lake. And this basically means that we are bringing data from different blockchains or different data sources all together in one place, but yet decentralized. And then this basically helps developers to have easier access to data, because that's kind of a big problem the crypto space is facing right now. Kive is the first big startup I'm involved, especially as a founder. So of course it's my personal baby, and I think same for my co-founder John as well. It was an insane, exciting journey so far, because actually last year ECC was the first time I met our first team member. We're just 3 people back then in person. I still haven't met my co-founder because of COVID and stuff like that, and now exactly 1 year later we're here with a team of 12 or something, even have some more back over in Germany, but just insane kind of seeing that development happening. It's just an absolutely exciting and incredible journey.
Fantastic. That sounds like a great last year.
Yeah.
So you leverage Arweave for your tech. Why is Arweave alone not sufficient?
Yeah, basically, so Arweave is designed for permanent data storage. You can really think of it as like a Google Cloud or something where you can just upload your pictures, and that's absolutely fine, right? But where Kive comes in is for data validation. So when you take data from one point to another, you want to make sure that the data transport has been done correctly and without any errors. And this is really what Kive is. We have this validation layer on top of Arweave, or on top of permanent storage, and then making sure that the data we transport from A to B is correct and didn't get corrupted or even manipulated.
Is that a big problem?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a big problem. It's just necessary for decentralization, right? Because let's take the example, right? You're storing Ethereum data from Ethereum onto Arweave. It has to go through some centralized point at one time, right? Let's say you do the archive, right? Then you download the data and you upload it, but I, as an independent person, couldn't tell if you might have done any errors or if you might have manipulated the data. So it's really important kind of feeding that through a decentralized network like Kive, and then making sure that the data that got been transported was correct.
So you're basically doing the validation of the files across a decentralized storage to make sure they all match?
Exactly.
So that doesn't currently exist?
No, actually this doesn't currently exist. Nothing that's built into Arweave or into any other permanent storage solution. And it's actually very useful for data streams and stuff like that. So for personal family pictures, right, Kive wouldn't make any sense, because you would say, well, I take the risk of some data might be corrupted, but well, not for blockchain archives, right? And this is really kind of where Kive comes into play there.
That sounds like a really potentially devastating attack vector for decentralized storage.
100%, especially on the way out, right? If let's say you're making a backup of Ethereum, right? And someone would manipulate just one data point and just could completely wreck the whole state that would follow this one, right? I mean, just think about I don't know, some token transfers missing, maybe a few $1 million, right? And this could just screw up everything that's coming after that. So it's really, really important that when loading in the backup, right, you're sure that you don't have to trust anyone and you're loading it in. So it's something we like to say at Kive, we're making data trustless, right? It's you don't have to trust the data anymore, you can just put it in and that's good to go.
That's amazing, because you can think kind of in the Web2 world, the amount of times you get the MD5 signature to make sure that the program is the same. You're basically automatically doing that. Exactly.
This is exactly one of the validation functions we're using, right? So we're using just a hash function to make sure that A equals B, but actually you can implement a completely custom validation function. So it's actually something we use for pricing data, for example, right? Because pricing data isn't the same, right? It's not deterministic, is what we like to say. So basically you can say, well, if the price difference is more than I don't know, 1%, right? We're not going to store that. We're going to find a different pricing provider and then to find some more matching data.
So you're saying that you could be the solution to kind of Oracle attacks?
Yeah, exactly. It's really Kive kind of really solves, I would say, all major data transportation problems, like oracles, archiving, and other use cases around that.
That sounds very, very fascinating. So you integrate with several different blockchains. How does that work in terms of the integration?
Yeah, actually it is quite easy. Basically what integration looks like, it's just 2 functions. In one function you specify, well, how do I get my data? And then the other function is how do I validate my data, right? And for Ethereum, for example, what we do is we just call an Ethereum node or multiple Ethereum nodes saying, hey, please give me block 0, right? Then Ethereum returns block 0. We then take the data, store it on Arweave, and then one node in our system proposes, hey, I've uploaded this piece of data, could the others please validate it? And then the other nodes, they pull down the data, run the validation function against it, so like they check if like the block is the same that they fetched or whatever, and then they vote either in favor or against it. Right? And if the majority has voted in favor of the piece of data, then on our chain, on the Kive chain, we then submit an event saying, hey, this Arweave bundle ID has been validated. And then a user developer can just fetch all the valid bundles.
Great. So what are you hoping to learn at ECC and sort of other events like this during the bear market?
Yeah, I think it's really like kind of meeting cool other projects we can integrate and we can help with. That's something we see a lot. It's like, especially because we are quite a generic approach. We can work with any type of data. We already have super exciting use cases coming up, talking like in person to people on conferences, right? Like from the NFT sector. Like you just meet so many like various people in that space. We're like getting back to the spirit of hacking and everything. It's super nice.
What for you does potential reversal in the market look like? What are you looking for in terms of, obviously, like historically, this is a great time for projects like you, time to build, everyone said, but what are you looking for as a reversal sign?
Yeah, actually, that's a good question, because the cool thing is for us at Kive, it's like the whole market sentiment doesn't really have a big effect, like on DeFi, for example, right? Where like we just work with data, and the blockchain will always produce data no matter what the price is, right? So that's kind of really, really good for us. Like now we can really take a step back from like all the hectic in the market going on, just kind of like going forward, like refining our product, right? Making the data archiving process better. Like, it's super nice.
So what's next for Kive?
Sorry?
What's next?
Oh, what's next? Actually, we have our incentivized testnet is coming to an end now. I think we have 2 more weeks to go. And actually after there's really a road to mainnet for us. Like we try to launch the mainnet beginning of Q4 of this year. And this is just what the team has been up to all day and all night, so to say.
Brilliant. Right, well, we'll definitely keep an eye out for that. And thank you very much for chatting with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, guys, that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching to the end. It really means a lot. If you're interested in watching more content like this, subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost a penny. If you could like the video, it really helps it get out there in terms of the algorithm. I know everyone says that, but it is true, unfortunately. And leave comments below about sort of what content you'd like to see next, who else you'd like us to interview. We've got a massive Rolodex of people. We're trying to find really interesting projects and getting a different angle for you guys to get some insight into the industry. You can follow us on Twitter, so at CryptoSlate, or myself, I'm at KeeperBlade. And obviously the website where the majority of our content is CryptoSlate.com.